Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the weekly Unfiltered news from the Reality Zone. Headlines you may have missed. Compiled by G.Edward Griffin for the week of July 16th through the 22nd, 2011. And here is the first week's this week's comic strip. Says here, the economy is so bad, ExxonMobil laid off 25 congressmen. So they have control of our congressmen too. Here we go on the first of the weekly headlines for this week. China is building electromagnetic pulse weapons to use against U.S. aircraft carriers in dispute over Taiwan, but these EMP weapons also can be used to kill people without damaging structures, kind of like a neutron bomb. The basic design was stolen from the U.S. What's new? Which also has such weapons. Washington Post, July 22nd. Over 1 million experiments using genetically engineered animals with human genes were performed last year, and some used what they call humanized animals. Yes, you think Dr. Monroe was alive and well in our country. Ethical scientists, which means the ones who have not gone insane, are trying to ban some experiments. Daily Mail, July 22nd. Yes, is it me or is this mad? Mutual assured destruction of the human race using genetic engineering to do it. I think it's mad. U.S. Attorney General of 50 states are negotiating to give banks immunity from criminal prosecution relating to improper foreclosures. Taking their cue from the drug companies, the banks are planning to pay a few $100 million in bribes to government officials to become immune from the prosecution and save trillions in lawsuits. Reuters, July 20th. BBC says it will not allow as much airtime to those who challenge their theory or the UN's theory of global warming as it gives to those who support it. Why not? Because it is a minority opinion. If they were given equal airtime, they might become the majority opinion, which is the real reason BBC is taking this action. The Express paper, July 21st. Video. Department of Homeland Security video creates the impression that terrorists are everywhere. A bizarre feature of the film is that those portrayed as terrorists are stereotypical American Caucasians, while the patriots who report them to the Department of Home Security are from other races or clearly of recognized ethnic origin. Subtitle paragraph, indeed, or subtle propaganda, indeed. Infowars, July 21st. UN Secretary Council wants to establish UN peacekeepers with green helmets to help so-called climate refugees. This is a natural mission creep for any collectivist regime. It will expand the UN's role and provide the excuse to deploy UN soldiers in previous sovereign countries. Globalwarming.org, July 21st. Yes, they can't wait to tax you for breathing and take that money and stick it in their own pocket because they know they can't control the sun, which the CERN just lately, this week, said, hey, guess what? The sun controls the weather. We proved it with the CERN accelerator. Anyways, Iran reports that the U.S. drone was shot down over its nuclear enrichment plant. MSNBC, July 20th. UK phone hacking whistleblower dies mysteriously after telling friends that he thought somebody from the government was out to get him. And he ends up, shot in the back of the head twice with a shotgun. Isn't that something? Daily Mail, July 20th. Santa Cruz County, California passed an ordinance banning utility smart meters because of their health hazards. And county sheriff has been directed to stop the power company from installing any more. The sheriff, however, refuses to enforce the law. Instead, he has arrested those who have protested against the meters. Yes, you're not getting enough radiation to give you brain tumors, so we can treat you for the rest of your whatever life you have left and make money. July 20th. Video. Ron Paul addresses Congress and explains: 1. The solution to too much debt is not more debt. 2. The U.S. will default because our debt is unsustainable. 3. Inflation is the worst form of default. He hits the ball right out of the park with this one. Real Clear Politics, July 19th. U.S. Department of Agriculture is allowing open-field trials of genetically engineered crops containing animal genes, human genes, and secret formulas intended to produce pharmaceutical drugs. Of course, there is a possibility of creating invasive species that could destroy natural plants, but there is little oversight of these trials. PPJ Gazette, July 19th. Iowa congressman protects his wife and daughter from robbers who invaded their home and threatened them with a gun. After wrestling the robber to the floor, the congressman's grandson arrived with a 12-gauge shotgun. The robber is still running. The Eastern Iowa government, July 18th. See? People who are armed are able to protect themselves and don't have to call up the Star Trek 9/11, where apparently the police beam right to where you call from and saying to be there with help. You know what I mean? New York subways are stepping up security measures and warning underground terror attacks. This is the new normal environment in which Americans are constantly reminded of the need for a police state. CBS News, July 18th. That's right, the boogeyman's in your house. You better be afraid. You need TSA putting their hands down your pants to protect you. Video. Massachusetts citizens deliver shocking testimony to legislators about the dangers of vaccines and demand the right to opt out. A powerful presentation, and it is. Age of Autism, posted July 18th. Should see that. They make a good argument. Many doctors and physicians and researchers there. European Organization for the Nuclear Research, CERN, forbids its scientists from drawing conclusions from a major experiment because they might challenge the myth of global warming. Remember, I was telling you that earlier? The experiment proved that temperatures are greatly influenced by sun activity. The conclusion they do not want discussed is that CO2 emissions are harmless. The Register, July 18th. The Pentagon is developing ways to interact with social networking sites to influence public opinion. TG Daily, July 18th. U.S. 10 banks own 77% of all bank assets and continue to gobble up smaller competitors. The 6 biggest banks possess assets equal to 60% of Americans' gross national product. After receiving trillions of dollars in bailout funds from taxpayers to stimulate the economy instead of lending it, they park most of it with the Federal Reserve and are earning interest on it. If you wonder why you distrust big banks, this article will explain it. Economic collapse, July 18th. I also did an earlier video on the money changers. You should watch that. It should be on the same page as this and YouTube. On the YouTube page this video shows up on. Okay. The U.S. Congress says EPA has conspired with environmental groups in a scam worthy of a crime syndicate. 1. EPA funds green groups with taxpayers' money. 2. These groups sue the EPA for being too lax. 3. The EPA concedes by expanding its regulatory power, which it wanted in the first place. Problem, reaction, solution. But now can claim it is merely acting under public pressure to do so. Al Capone would be proud of these boys. FPV, July 16th. The EPA is sued by environmental groups because it is not regulating emissions from aircraft and boats. This is political theater. EPA wants to regulate aircraft and boats under international guidelines and is putting up a powder puff defense to ensure it will lose. See article above for an explanation of how this scam works. Fox News, July 16th. U.S. police nationwide will start using face recognition iPhones this fall. This device will take photos and quickly compare it to the government's database of criminals, dissidents, or political opponents. Anyone that doesn't like the government. Popular Science, July 16th. India. Monsanto's official is beaten by farmers who say they have been tricked into using Monsanto's genetically engineered cottonseed that fail to produce healthy crops as advertised. Many Indian farmers have committed suicide because of crop failures. Ceylon, July 16th. U.S. Federal Appeals Court upholds our use of TSA full body scanners, but says that TSA should have sought public comment before deploying them. In other words, the public should have been given a chance to object before being told to submit anyway. MSNBC, July 16th. Portugal decriminalized drugs 10 years ago and implemented treatment programs resulting in a 50% decrease in addiction. Imagine that. See, and it was also stopped this drug war from Mexico. You legalize the drugs, there's no profit, they can't sell it, they get harder to get, and the problem goes away. Really, it does. Forbes, July 16th. Video, U.S. Midway, Georgia police shut down lemonade stand because the 3 little girls running it did not have a license and a seller's permit, which incidentally would cost him $50 per day plus $180 per year. But don't be angry. It's for the protection of our health, you see. July 16th. That's right. They couldn't have made that much money in a day. More or less paid $180. Just unbelievable. San Diego. A citizen's complaint spurs a grand jury investigation that stops the city's plan to build a new city hall. The investigation showed that it would be far less expensive to rehabilitate the old building. The importance of this story is not that money would have been wasted, but that the grand jury can be an effective tool for fighting waste and corruption. 10 News, July 16th. Alrighty, next part, video. Nuclear physicist Arnie Ganderson gives an update to Fukushima. Radiation is decreasing but will continue to be dangerously high for several generations. Black rain, radioactive fallout, is the likely explanation for contaminated beef. This is a highly informative report by Fair Winds, July 19. Alternative markets barter system and local co-ops allow people to protect themselves in a failed economy. Here is what you need to know about them. They may be in your future. Activist Post, July 11. Yes, you may need to learn how to barter and grow your own food as well. When you see that in order to produce you will need to obtain permission from men who produce nothing, when you see that the money is flowing to those who deal not in goods but in favors, when you see that men get rich more easily by graft than by work, and your laws no longer protect you against them but protect them against you, you may know that your society is doomed. Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. A couple of videos are out there talking about, she predicted this back in 1961, what's happening today, amazingly. Exactly what's going on, what would happen to our country. Unreal, it was like prophecy. Video, smart meters send radio signals to your utility company, may also be used by government agencies and criminals to detect your daily living patterns. And when you are away from home, they break in. They violate federal and state wiretapping laws. This video analysis by Jerry Day describes the problem and what to do about it. Excellent one, YouTube, posted July 2nd. I think that's it. That's all the headlines for today. The rest is commentaries, and yes, it is. And you can read all this at the Unfiltered News when I post this. I will have a link to this newsletter at the bottom of the, or in the descriptions at the bottom of the video. Until next time, this is Spellbinder's Report on headlines you may have missed this week from the unfiltered news from the reality zone. Be good at it. Good day.